about 5 years. It's here, February. 6 years. 6 years in February. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So that's like something that hits people when they're about 28 years old, average. They can. So I was average. I was 28 when I got Hodgkin's. And so I went through all the chemo and stuff. And we had already kind of discussed children, and I don't know. We just weren't at that point yet. But then, like, right before I started chemo, like the doctor comes in and they gave me the whole thing, and they gave me the whole list of side effects. Like, your fingernails are gonna fall out, and like they're like, oh, also like you may not be able to have children. Like, do you want to do anything about that first? Like, I go to a sperm bank or something, and I was like, no, I just want to start treatment. Like, so I don't know. I don't even know if that's a possibility to have children, but probably too personal. But anyway, like we've decided to put that off. Like, we think that in the future, that in God's kingdom, I think that we'll be able to have a family. And in the meantime, we're just going to serve God to the best of our ability. And we're happy. We're content with what He has provided for us.
Dude, thank you so much for sharing that story with us.
Yeah.
That's big.
I will note one thing. One of my best friends had the same thing
Yeah.
at the same age.
Yeah.
And he just had his first baby
It's awesome.
like 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Our buddy Kevin,
That's awesome.
or my buddy Kevin.
Yeah.
And literally same exact. And I think I'm pretty similar age. I'm 1991.
Yeah.
So I'm 35.
Yeah.
But they just had, and after some time of trying, but they were able to have
That's awesome.
a kid after the treatment and everything. I think he got done with his treatment like 3 or 4 years ago.
Tell him congratulations for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that? That's a big deal. I don't want to just skip over that because I know there's a lot of folks that are listeners that are struggling with health stuff.
Yeah.
How did that change your perspective on faith, on life, on everything? Because that had to have been a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm still trying to deal with it in a lot of different ways. Yeah. I did go to like therapy afterwards just because I was like, so after I had beat it, like I was actually more down than when I was going through treatment. Like, going through treatment, it was difficult and there was a lot of pain, but that was like the happiest time of my life and the happiest we've ever been as like a couple.
Wow.
Just because I think we had that common enemy. We were really focusing on each other and our faith, and just like, you have a lot of support with the doctors and a lot of support from family. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just it was fun. The pain wasn't fun, but it was just fun. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. But anyway.
Probably a crazy adventure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah, it was a crazy adventure. And like, yeah. But then after I beat it, I was like really anxious and just like really scared. I didn't know what to do. So I was talking to a therapist about it, and he said, well, like sometimes people may come home like being a soldier, and yeah, they feel the same way because every day they're worried about their life or worried about what to do. And then they come home and they're like, none of this compares to what I had to deal with there. So what's the point of life? Because I don't like none of this anxiety or whatever, like it doesn't compare because I was putting my life on the line every day. So I think that's something I've come to terms with. Like, I can be happy being content and living day to day. And what are my goals? Well, I can have a strong family. I can have a happy life, and I don't have to worry so much about the daily things. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but
it does.
No,
that's
good.
yeah, that's
I
what
was
I'm
just going to
navigating.
say that, you know, I think and he hit on a really good point of like facing mortality at such a young age almost seems the opposite of that age, especially in your 20s. You almost feel like you're invincible in your 20s. So to frame that back almost 180 and say, you know, I'm coming to terms that I might die.
Yeah.
And I'm still young and I still feel strong, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, that's up to God to decide, you know, when my time is. But it also probably has a large effect on your ego and your pride and what you thought was left of your life versus what is actual reality. And so that can be a complete head game to go through.
Yeah, I definitely hope it has had an effect on my ego. Just because like my dad is like a very humble, patient person, and I try to follow his example, and like I think that experience has definitely helped me to be more humble. Like, yeah, everybody is going through some sort of struggle. So maybe one day a customer calls and curses you out or something. Okay, I don't know what's going on in your life, so it's okay. We'll just keep taking care of you or whatever. But yeah, like I'm not number one, right? There's a lot of things to take care of, and just take it one day at a time. Yeah.
What about your relationship first and foremost, to go through that with your wife at such a young age? I'm sure that put the relationship through quite a test early on in your marriage, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking about that last night, actually. Like, I was trying to remember how long exactly we've been married, but yeah, it was, thankfully, my wife is a very patient and kind person, and she's a caretaker in her career, but she's a caretaker at heart. And that's one of the reasons I really fell in love with her, is because I saw her taking care of older people and taking care of her family. And I was like, this is actually like a good person at heart. And she was that person when I was going through this. Like, she definitely take care of me and helped me, and was always there. I can't imagine going through it without her. Like, she was always at the hospital, or she would take me to the hospital when I was in too much pain. No matter what time of day, no matter what time of night, if I finally said, okay, I have to go to the hospital, I was there, 30 minutes, no questions. And she would fight with the nurses and doctors and say, no, he needs this, or she would keep track of the medications and all that, just to make sure everything was taken care of. I did read a lot about marriages that like failed during times of chemo and cancer, and I was just shocked that like some people, like, they would get the diagnosis and the next day their partner would leave them, and I'm just like,
holy cow.
Wow. But then when I actually went into like the chemo room, I was like the only person with someone there. Like, everybody else would just get dropped off, and I was just like, wow, like, I can't believe how good I have it. Like, I'm blessed to have someone with me who will go through this with me. Yeah.
It brings like instant perspective. My wife, I was on the other side of that. So when we had our third daughter, my wife almost died. She had a bunch of pulmonary embolisms. And this was in the middle. I was running an oil company, and oil was negative, and COVID had happened. It was just chaos. And she was like, man, my back's hurting. And she had a C-section. I was like, okay, we'll call your doctor and, let's take you in. But I was pretty distracted. And she went into her doctor and called me and was like, hey, they said I have to go to the emergency room right now, and I might not live. And it just changes everything about your relationship with that person when on the other side, on your spouse's side, especially when you're like, oh my gosh, this person I thought we were going to grow old with may not be here tomorrow. And we have all these other things in our life that we wanted to do. And I agree with you. It gave us the sweetest time in our marriage after that. And I had to give her these blood thinner shots. I think it was twice a day. And I'm like, I hate shots and anything like involving blood or whatever. But when we found out, hey, she's going to be okay, it was like, no problem. Like, it's no problem to do this, because I'm so thankful that we have this opportunity. And honestly, it was a gift from God, because I didn't have my priorities in alignment. I said I did, but I didn't. And that gave us this instant perspective to say, hey, what do we really want out of life? How do we really do what God wants us to do? Let's map that out. And we did. And the life we have now is totally different because of that event. So, I mean, it was a blessing for us. And I know it's not the case for everybody. I mean, sometimes it's absolutely demoralizing and destroys things, but for us it was.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree. And I'm glad, I'm glad it worked out for both of us. And like, but I do think about like the other side, like, why does that happen? And like, I think that's a nice ego check on myself. Like, okay, like, don't pass judgment on other people. That's not your job. Just take care of what you can take care of and try to help if you can, and then just let people make their own decisions and go from there. Yeah.
What got you out of that depression when you got done with all the chemotherapy and you kind of were hitting that slump since the noise had kind of died down?
Yeah.
What was something that got you out of that whole phase?
Yeah. So like I finished chemo in February, and then we were supposed to go to Disney World for finishing chemo because by that time I had got the clear, all clear. And then COVID, right? Like March or April, right? So
2020.
yeah. So all of that shut down. So everything was canceled. So I went from being isolated for 6 months, which my dad was really kind and nice. He like paid my check that entire 6 months of chemo, and I didn't work that whole 6 months. And so I was isolated that whole time basically. And then COVID, I had to take extra precautions because my immune system was still down. So I was like really isolated for like a year at least, maybe a year and a half. So at the end of COVID, I was super depressed. Like I didn't want to get out of bed at all. I do think the company definitely helped me get out of that more so. I think depression is something I never will really ever like conquer. I think it's just something I have to manage and deal with. I do think the company managing it, helping other people, having goals, I think that does help me just have something to do. Like you're saying, fill your cup with something to do. And what's the bigger goal? What's the bigger goal of having the company? Taking care of my family, right? Taking care of each other, taking care of our bigger family and our friends, and serving God's kingdom. I do think all those things have contributed to being able to at least have a healthier mindset most days.
Well, you have something to be really proud of, friend.
Yeah.
Conquering that is absolutely a feat. Can only imagine what that felt like, emotionally, physically to go through that. And so you should be really proud of, conquering that whole thing and keeping your marriage intact and also, having your family with you all the way along for it. And then now coming out the other side of that 6 years later, and having something that you can be proud of even more, like your family business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's thank you. I appreciate that. And I definitely feel, I guess blessed is the right word, but just to like have a moment to like think about those who didn't conquer the battle with cancer or something, right? Like I had a 10-year-old friend, right? And he was born with different tumors and things. And then like he passed away right after I finished mine. And like, so just thinking about like things like that, it's like, there's a lot of bad things going on in the world, but like just have the privilege to know him and like reflect on him. How am I living my life? It's a good thing to meditate on.